So students with disabilities, we have a variety of supports and programs in place. Obviously the staffing to support students with disabilities, for example, yesterday I was in the high school, students with severe physical as well as learning disabilities. To provide access to equitable experiences means that when we reflect on our beliefs as far as fair and equal, they're not the same, because if our strongest beliefs here relate to our mission, which relates to future success for students, however they define that. So our four strongest beliefs for how we're going to help students toward our mission relate to trust, being responsive to students as learners, so both as learners and individuals, so what is their background when they walk in the door. Then the third strongest belief, or pillar as we call them in our school district, relates to high expectations, and that high expectations depends on where you are as a learner. And then the fourth one relates to a safe place to learn and work. So in regard to students with disabilities, we have to provide people who can deliver specially designed instruction that is in response to that disability. And that's different for different students with disabilities. So as I mentioned earlier, in our high school yesterday, when I was visiting, we had some students who have some significant handicaps. So they're students with these disabilities. They're not disabled students. So, and I think by looking at it from that lens, you're looking at the student as a learner first, and then looking at what accommodations or specially designed experiences do we need to provide. So in one of the classes, it was in a physical education class, we had the ability of having both the instructor as well as some support staff that were able to help support the students with their physical disabilities. So, you know, we're pretty fortunate to have those supports in place, but in regard to those students, that's critical. Do we have people in positions that can be responsive to their needs? Because there's some significant needs there for some students. I'm speaking to some extreme situations. For students with specific learning disabilities, having the ability for them to be included within our education program and genuinely feel engaged in a part of it, I don't think we're where we need to be collectively at this point. With that said, we do include students in our general education program to a high degree. We're fortunate to do it at probably a higher degree than most school systems, and the main piece relates to our staffing model, and that allows us to put students who in other school systems might not be included in the general education program because they're so impulsive, but because we can help those students with their behavior cues, which are some of their learning needs, and have staff near them so that they're not disrupting other students. I think we've been able to include those specific kids in that example to a higher degree. One of the things we're working on for students, not simply with disabilities, but students who might be a little different or an outlier, so that we can include them as part of our school community, relates to a school climate policy, but also an initiative we're entitling Inclusive Excellence. Addressing equity in terms of race, culture, it needs to be a K-12 effort. Right now, much of the conversation in our school community is at an adult level and at our high school, more so than K-8. However, we're shifting the conversation to more of a K-12 effort.